Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2003 Chevy Express van. Up front is a 6.0 liter V8, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Chevy Express for one main reason. It's an old pizza van, it has a fiberglass shell, and I'd like to include this in my sort of fourth installment of learning and driving every variant of the Chevy Express van. We reviewed a stock standard Chevy Express van. We reviewed a rear mount aftermarket turbocharged Chevy Express van. And we even reviewed a former FedEx delivery Express van. Well, today we're taking the pizza truck out for a spin. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 6-liter V8 up front. Well, that was one of the few engines offered in the Chevy Express van back in '03. You could also get it with the 5.3 V8 and the 4.3-liter V6 at the time. So this was kind of the top dog, the most powerful version, and of course I like that. Like I said, paired to it is the 4-speed automatic transmission from GM. It's used in so many different vehicles, rear-wheel drive bias applications, but also in 4-wheel drive. And it's okay. It does have some transmission issues, but it was put in everything, so parts are easily available, and the issues are well known. Last but not least, this is rear-wheel drive. Although you could find Chevy Expresses with 4-wheel, this particular one is rear. So how does it feel to drive the Chevy Express pizza van? Well, it actually doesn't drive that much different from the other Expresses. Obviously, this is a little bit more of a heavy-duty application than some Expresses that we've driven. It's a little bit longer of a chassis, and you definitely notice that. But the rear cap, as we'll talk about, is made out of fiberglass, so you don't have that much more weight behind you. Now, I'm sure fully loaded with a couple of Zaz might be a different story, but as of where I'm sitting, it's not that different from a regular Express van, although it looks drastically different. So with that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 5 gauges. Off to the left is my oil pressure and coolant temperature. In the center is my speedometer, and off to the right is my fuel and battery voltage. On the steering wheel, we don't get anything, nothing new here. And off to the left, we have a climate control vent, headlight switch, and our dome light. Moving on to the door, we do have power windows. However, these are aftermarket power windows, and down below you can see how the kit works. It's just a motor put onto these factory cranks for the windows. Kind of a cool system, and something that if you have a vehicle of this vintage or you want power windows, you could add that later on. Moving into the center, we do have climate controls, fan speed off to the left, temperature in the center, where to send it off to the right. We also do have the factory radio, nothing cool or interesting there. It works, and I have no complaints beyond that. Airbag on and off, trailer and 12-volt outlet to the left. More climate vents and 12-volt outlet off to the right. And then we have our cup holders. So we'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and as we've tested in other Chevy Expresses, this triple cup holder setup passes the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have some extra storage down below and no center console, which makes it easy to get in and out of the back. That we'll talk about in a second. The seats are comfortable as well. Now, these look like they're from the 90s because they pretty much are, and 2003 wasn't that far away from the 90s, so it's still pretty hip and modern. However, as time moved on, the Express kept these seats even though they got so far from the 90s. So, kind of funny to see that. However, we don't have any back seats, but we do have the rear fiberglass shell. So let's hop back there and do a cargo space review, but we'll also do an on-foot exterior review for the first time in a long time. All right, let's start off with the back. Obviously, we do have this giant door. We're going to keep that open and come through that door to the back. Now, obviously, some of the insulation is falling. This is heat insulation to try to keep the pizzas in the back as warm as possible. Now, That is a giant door, and I'll show a shot of it from the outside. However, it is a two-man job, and I am just one man. But look at this giant clamshell door. I mean, that is absolutely impressive. Once we are towards the very back here, you can see these on the sides were meant for mounting shelving, and there would have been some shelving when it was a pizza delivery van. Here we go. Someone seemed to have Sharpied on some size dimensions to keep it handy. But like I said, this stuff, although it's falling, was kind of meant to keep the heat in. Now, this is something interesting. The brochure for this cap, which the brand name of this fiberglass cap is escaping me, but I'll put it up on the screen. They actually advertised this. They left this like really thin fiberglass up at the top because it actually helps light up the interior in here, which is kind of neat. Now, obviously, the wood on the floor, this is actually the current owner is using this as a cargo vehicle for a project, so this wasn't here. But you could see down here, we, A, have some sunlight coming through, but also B, we have some standard floorboards with tie-down hooks and whatnot like that. That little bump right there is for the gas cap, which is very neat. But this is the inside and back of a pizza delivery insulated fiberglass van. Oh, there it is, Unicell. Unicell. That is the brand that built the cap. So basically Chevy would build the interior up there and the chassis, and then Unicell would put this on top of it and sell it to businesses. So very, very cool for all of that. But let's hop to the outside and actually do a walking outside review instead of just the voiceover. All right, so normally I just voice over the walkarounds, but this is so interesting that I'm actually going to do it live. So as you can see, obviously the front half of it, this is standard Chevy Express van. Nothing really cool or interesting here. Metal bumper and little tiny headlights. However, as we move across, you could see the fiberglass shell starts up here and curves without any seams onto the back. Now, Unicell advertised this for two solid reasons. First of all, the rear fiberglass, it's all one piece, and so they advertised, well, it won't leak because there's no seams for the leak to, well, get through. The second reason is for weight. Fiberglass is lighter than metal. Obviously, this might not hold up as well in a crash, but it's gonna be a lot lighter. You're gonna get better fuel economy and that sort of thing. You can see here embossed is the Unicell logo, and it is just a giant rear clamshell. So very, very cool to see all of that. Obviously, it still does have some markings from the prior pizza owners. Rosati's is a very famous pizza chain here in the Chicagoland area. There is some of their poorly photoshopped products. Oh, that cannoli looks pretty decent though. All right, so moving down here, we do have the fuel filler cap, and then you can see kind of a better idea of where the fiberglass stops and where the Chevy Express starts. Big mirrors to see around. You can see that the fiberglass does kind of stick out a little bit more than the traditional side of the Express, so they extended the mirrors to see around it. But there we go. That's the exterior walk-around of a Rosati's pizza van from 2003. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 2003 Chevy Express built for pizza delivery? Well, of course, this is the stuff that always excites me. I love driving the cool, the weird, the wicked, and the wild, and this is one of it. I mean, how many YouTube channels do you get to see where they review pizza delivery vans? I question you that. But this is also just another case of the wild versatility of the Chevy Express van. If we cut to the in-car, you can see this bulkhead behind me is where the Chevy Express stops. There's actually a cut in the roof. You can see this line up here. That's where the Express starts. The added cab starts with this darker gray material behind me. And so that solid white line over my head is the clear distinction of where your imagination can start, because this one has a fiberglass cap meant for pizza delivery. But I've also driven the FedEx. I've also seen other caps and beds put on these. The options are endless. And so that's the cool thing about the Express, is that it's so good and so basic that it can accommodate everything. It's like a big event space. You could fill it with tables and chairs. You could put a stage. You could build a separate house or room in there. That's what makes this vehicle so good. And you have the decent reliability of the 6-liter V8. Again, this has 360,000 miles on it. I would consider that decently reliable. The automatic isn't wonderful, but it's easy to drive. Anyone who works for your company or business is going to be able to hop into this, and it's not going to be too daunting like it might be with a full-size box truck. And lastly, just the idea of everything that has passed through the back of this. How many pizzas, how many slices of pepperoni have gone through the chassis of this vehicle? How many catered graduation parties celebrating a family that didn't think their kid was going to graduate, and so that's means for celebration? How many funerals did this van pull up to and deliver food to a grieving family? This van has seen the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows through pizza. You might think that, oh, pizza's a funny joke or pizza's a whatever junk food. But honestly, it's one of the few foods that really brings people together. You see corporate offices, for good or bad, offer pizza parties all the time. And sure, that's a chill joke of a business not investing in their workforce, but it's also something. Growing up, we always had pizza parties for birthday parties. It brought the kids of the neighborhood together. It's one of the few foods that has been delivery since day one, even before DoorDash and Uber Eats. It's one of the few foods that you don't really need a plate, and you can feed the masses. And this is the van that brought those occasions together. This was used for catering events. This was for big orders. You didn't get this just on a Wednesday for 2 pies. No. This was a big order vehicle. I mean, how many times do you think this has pulled up to a party where the original caterer fell through and they just had to say, hey, screw it, we gotta order pizza, and everyone was hungry and starving and upset and in a funky mood, and you see this pull up and you go, ah, the pizza's here. How many people yelled, pizza's here? And the smiles, the joy, that's what this van was able to deliver. Would a Ford Econoline have done the same job? I'm sure. But this one did the job for 360,000 miles. That's what makes this van special, and that's why I love it so much. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Carl for letting me borrow his Chevy Express van for today's video. Carl's been absolutely wonderful. We have reviewed dozens of his cars. He's always rotating and changing out his fleet, and I appreciate him for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.